the second question is, who is eligible for SUV program? Are there any requirements regarding business experience or financial background?
You want to translate the question to them?
Oh, sure. Okay. Câu hỏi thứ hai mà Vân vừa hỏi chị Annie và Natik đó là ai là cái đối tượng phù hợp cho chương trình SUV này, và có bất kỳ cái yêu cầu nào liên quan đến cái kinh nghiệm quản lý doanh nghiệp hay là liên quan đến vấn đề tài chính hay không. Tóm lại câu hỏi thứ hai này là yêu cầu ai là đối tượng phù hợp với chương trình này. Okay.
So it's a great question, firstly, that you asked, and I'd like to answer this in 4 points. Okay. Now, there are 4 major criteria that applicants need to qualify for in case they want to do startup visa. Okay. Number 1 is that your business, your project has to be a qualifying business. Now, when I use the term qualifying, it basically means that applicants must have a business that meets the ownership requirements. That means that each applicant has to hold at least 10% of the voting rights, and collectively, the applicants and the founders and the designated organization must hold more than 50% of the voting rights. That makes your business a qualifying business. This is one of the major requirements in startup visa. Okay. Secondly, the letter of support. The letter of support, I'll say, Van, is one of the most important documents in the entire process. Without a letter of support from a designated organization, you cannot go ahead and file for permanent residency. And as I mentioned, DOs are divided into 3 major categories: venture capital fund, angel investor groups, business incubators. They endorse their business idea. They do a lot of due diligence on your entire business plan, your pitch deck. And, later, once they're satisfied with your business plan and they feel that it is innovative and creative enough, they will then go ahead and, approve a letter of support. Okay. So letter of support is an extremely important criteria. So you have to obtain that letter of support as the founder of the company. Thirdly, language proficiency, extremely important, and I cannot stress enough that this is a mandatory requirement. Applicants must demonstrate a minimum proficiency of CLB 5 in English or French across all 4 abilities, which is speaking, your reading, listening, and writing. And you can give IELTS exam, you can give the CELPIP test, you can also give the PTE test. So they've opened up doors for other English language tests too now. Not just IELTS, but CELPIP, PTE also can be given. Okay. And the 4th major requirement, again, is very important, which is proof of funds. Okay. Settlement funds are an important criteria where it can also lead to rejection sometimes if you don't maintain the amount of funds that are actually needed in the startup visa program. So I'll let my associate Netik talk more about settlement funds and language proficiency, because he deals with clients every single day, startup visa clients. So he has more knowledge of what kind of questions they can ask. So it can help your listeners. Netik, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Annie. So first, I would like to emphasize on the language proficiency test. All right. So the language proficiency test is the minimum CLB level equivalent to 5 is what the clients need to get. So just to have a literal translation with IELTS exam, which is the most popular exam, in reading, the candidates have to get a minimum score of 4. And for the other 3 tests, which is the writing, listening, and speaking, they need to obtain a minimum score of 5. And that's how the cumulative score comes to CLB level 5 for IELTS. And that is something which is the minimum requirement that they have to get. And the IELTS score is valid up to 2 years. So the result should be valid at the time of applying for the PR. Now, moving on to the next question, which is the minimum proof of funds, settlement funds, which is required. Now, this particular fund is required by IRCC so that it's easier for the candidates to transition when they come new to Canada. And that's why they have designed this minimum funds, which is required. Now, this fund depends on the family size. So just to give you a gist about what is the minimum requirement, if suppose there is a family of, say, 3 members, then the minimum funds that the IRCC has as a requirement is 22,483 Canadian dollars, which is minimum that they need to require. Now, if it's a family of say 5 people, then it is 30,690 Canadian dollars. So that's how there is different, as per the size of the family, the funds requirement increases. And this is the minimum requirement. But as a precautionary measure, what we generally advise to the clients is to have at least 15 to 20% extra over and above what the minimum requirement is, just to mitigate the currency fluctuation risk and any other kind of risk. So it's always advisable to have minimum 15-20% extra buffer than what the IRCC has stated as minimum proof of funds. Now, the acceptable proof of funds is your money lying in your bank statements, which is your current account or checking account, your savings account, or probably your mutual funds or GICs, which are redeemable in nature, and also a few investment options like mutual funds or equities, which can be redeemed at any time. So these are the kind of investments or funds which are acceptable to IRCC as proof of funds. And this proof of fund, which the IRCC requires, they ask for past 6 months bank statements or investment statements to check that the funds are your own funds and these are not borrowed funds. So it is very important to highlight that the funds cannot be borrowed. It should be your own. Either you have earned like from your business, from your salary, or probably through some sale of your assets. So these funds should be your funds. And that's why they ask for 6 months look back. So these are the two important things regarding the proof of fund and the language proficiency test. Thank you.
So to answer your question, Van, qualifying business is one of the criterias: letter of support, your language proficiency, and proof of funds. These are the 4 major criterias for startup visa. Okay. And you asked another question is that whether there is a prior business experience or any financial background required as such as a personal net worth or anything, then the answer is no. Okay, they don't require a net worth or anything that needs to be proved in startup visa. They only have a very minimum basics proof of funds requirement, which Netik spoke about. And business experience also, they've not mentioned officially on their website anywhere that they require business experience. So anybody who is even a fresh graduate from college can still go ahead and become a startup founder in Canada, right? So there's no business experience per se that's needed.